Welcome to Speak Forward English, where we help you master the language with confidence.
Hey, Jerry, how's it going?
Sophia, hey, good to see you. I'm doing great, thanks. How about you?
I'm doing well, thanks for asking. So before we dive in, if you're enjoying our daily English lessons, don't forget to subscribe Speak Forward English. It really helps us out.
Absolutely. And you'll get new content every single day to improve your English. All right, so today we're talking about habits, right?
Yes, how to talk about your habits in English. It's such a practical topic because we all have habits, good and bad, and we talk about them all the time.
That's so true. I was just thinking this morning about my coffee habit. I can't start my day without it.
See? That's exactly what we're talking about. And you just used a really common way to talk about habits. You said, I can't start my day without it. That's a great expression.
Yeah, and there are so many ways to describe our routines and habits in English. Should we start with the basics?
Definitely. So the most common way to talk about habits is using the simple present tense, like I drink coffee every morning, or I go to the gym 3 times a week.
Right, and the key word there is every, or talking about frequency. We use words like always, usually, often, sometimes, rarely, and never.
Exactly. So, for example, I always brush my teeth before bed. That's something I do every single night without fail.
And I usually wake up at 6:30. Notice I said usually because sometimes on weekends I might sleep in a bit.
Right, it's not absolute. Now, what about if you want to be more specific about frequency, like how often you do something?
Oh, good point. You can say things like once a day, twice a week, 3 times a month. For instance, I check my email several times a day.
Or you could say, I visit my parents once a month. It gives a clear picture of how often that habit happens.
And there's another pattern people use a lot, especially in conversation, starting with I tend to. Like, I tend to stay up late on weekends.
Oh, I love that expression. I tend to is so natural. It means you have a tendency or inclination to do something regularly. I tend to skip breakfast when I'm running late.
Yeah, me too, actually. Another similar phrase is I have a habit of. Like, I have a habit of checking my phone first thing in the morning.
That's a really common habit nowadays. I think most people do that. And speaking of phone habits, I'm trying to break that habit, actually.
Oh, trying to break a habit, and that's another important phrase. When you want to stop doing something, you break a habit.
Right. And if you want to start doing something new regularly, you can say you're trying to develop a habit or building a habit. For example, I'm trying to develop a habit of reading before bed instead of scrolling through my phone.
That's a good one. I'm trying to build a habit of meditating every morning. I've been doing it for about 2 weeks now.
How's that going for you?
It's been pretty good. Some days are easier than others, but I'm sticking with it.
That brings up another expression, sticking with it, means continuing to do something even when it's difficult.
Exactly. And there's also keeping up with something. Like, it's hard to keep up with a new exercise routine.
Oh, I know that feeling. I keep up with my yoga practice, but sometimes I really have to push myself.
Now, what about talking about bad habits? Because we all have those too.
True. So you can say things like, I have a bad habit of. For instance, I have a bad habit of biting my nails when I'm nervous.
Or you could say, I can't seem to stop. Like, I can't seem to stop snacking late at night. That's one I'm definitely guilty of.
Aren't we all? Another way is saying, I keep, followed by the gerund. So, I keep forgetting to water my plants.
Oh yeah, using keep with the ing form shows that something happens repeatedly, often unintentionally. I keep losing my keys. That happens to me all the time.
Maybe you need a designated spot for them. That's actually what I did. I got into the habit of putting my keys in the same place every day.
Smart. Got into the habit of. That's another good phrase for when you successfully started doing something regularly. I got into the habit of meal prepping on Sundays.
Oh, that's impressive. How did you start that?
Well, at first it was hard, but I made it part of my Sunday routine. Now it's just automatic.
And that's the goal, right? When something becomes automatic or second nature, it means you don't even think about it anymore.
Exactly. Like brushing your teeth. It's just second nature. You don't have to remind yourself to do it. What about talking about someone else's habits?
Good question. You can say things like, she's always or he's constantly. For example, my roommate is always leaving dishes in the sink.
That's a common roommate complaint. Or you could say, he tends to, or she has a tendency to. Like, my brother has a tendency to show up late to everything.
Right. And if you want to be a bit more formal or indirect, you can say someone is in the habit of doing something. My boss is in the habit of sending emails late at night.
Oh, that's interesting. In the habit of. That sounds a bit more formal, doesn't it?
It does. It's something you might hear more in professional settings or written English. Now, let's talk about how to describe the frequency of these habits more naturally.
Sure. So we mentioned always, usually, often, but there are more casual ways too, like saying all the time. I drink water all the time throughout the day.
Or constantly. That's even stronger. My sister is constantly texting while we're having dinner.
That must be annoying. You can also say every now and then or from time to time for things you do occasionally. I go for a hike every now and then when the weather's nice.
Or, once in a while. I treat myself to ice cream once in a while, not every day.
Everything in moderation, right? What about day in and day out? That's for something you do absolutely every single day.
Yeah, that's a great one. I commute to work day in and day out. It emphasizes the repetitive nature of it.
And sometimes we want to talk about habits that are more specific to certain times, like morning routines or evening routines.
Oh, yes, morning routines are so important. I have a whole morning routine that I follow. First, I wake up at 6, then I make my bed, then I have coffee.
See, that's a perfect example. You using sequence words, first, then, after that, next. These help you describe the order of your habits.
Exactly. And you can say as soon as for things you do immediately. As soon as I wake up, I open the curtains to let in natural light.
Or right after, or immediately after. Right after I finish work, I go for a walk to clear my head.
That's a healthy habit. Now, what about when you're trying to change your habits, like New Year's resolutions?
Oh, those. Yeah, so you could say, I'm trying to, or I'm working on. I'm working on eating healthier this year.
Or, I'm making an effort to. That shows you're actively trying. I'm making an effort to call my friends more often instead of just texting.
That's nice. Another one is, I'm cutting back on, when you want to reduce something. I'm cutting back on sugar. I used to have dessert every night, but now it's just a couple times a week.
Good for you. And the opposite would be, I'm increasing or I'm doing more. I'm doing more strength training at the gym these days.
What about when a habit is really ingrained? Like, you've been doing it for so long that it's part of who you are.
You could say, I've always been someone who, for example, I've always been someone who wakes up early, even on weekends.
Morning person. I'm the opposite. I've never been a morning person. Notice I said I've never been. That shows it's a long-term thing about me.
Right. Or you could say, it's just how I am, or it's in my nature. Being organized is just how I am. I can't stand mess.
And some people say it runs in the family when it's a habit shared by family members. Being punctual runs in my family. We're all always on time.
That's a good trait to have. Now, let's talk about some specific vocabulary for different types of habits. For health habits, you might say things like, I make sure to, or I make it a point to.
Right. I make it a point to drink 8 glasses of water a day. Or, I make sure to get at least 7 hours of sleep every night.
And for productivity habits, people often say, I set aside time for. I set aside an hour every evening to plan the next day.
Or, I dedicate time to. I dedicate 30 minutes each morning to journaling. It helps me organize my thoughts.
That's wonderful. Journaling is such a positive habit. Speaking of positive habits, we should mention ritual versus routine versus habit.
Oh, interesting. What's the difference?
Well, a routine is a sequence of actions you do regularly, like your morning routine. A habit is a single, repeated action, and a ritual is something more meaningful or ceremonial. Like having coffee might be a habit, but having a special Sunday morning coffee ritual with family is more intentional.
Ah, I see. So a ritual has more emotional or personal significance. I have a bedtime ritual where I light a candle, read for 20 minutes, and then do some stretches. It's very calming.
That sounds lovely. And speaking of bedtime, a lot of people struggle with sleep habits. You might hear people say, I am a night owl, or I'm a morning person.
Yeah, we touched on that. I'm definitely a night owl. I get my best work done after 9 p.m., but I know that's not ideal. I should probably work on shifting that.
It's interesting how some habits are personality based. Like, some people are naturally more organized, and others are more spontaneous.
True. You might say I'm the type of person who makes lists for everything. I can't function without my to-do list.
I'm similar. Lists give me such satisfaction when I check things off. Now, what about talking about habits you wish you had, or habits you admire in others?
Oh, good one. You could say or I should. I wish I exercised more regularly. Or I should really start flossing every day.
The dentist's favorite reminder. You can also say, I'd like to get into the habit of learning one new word every day.
That's a great goal for language learners. And speaking of which, building language learning habits is super important. Consistency is key.
Absolutely, which is why we encourage everyone to subscribe for daily English listening practice. Daily exposure makes such a difference.
It really does. Even just 15 minutes a day can become a powerful habit. So, let's give some more examples of how to describe different habits in natural conversation.
Sure, let's say someone asks you about your exercise habits. You could respond with, I try to work out at least 3 times a week. Usually, I go to the gym on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday after work.
Nice. That's specific and natural. Or if someone asks about your eating habits, you might say, I typically eat 3 meals a day. I'm pretty good about not skipping breakfast because I know it gives me energy for the morning.
Perfect. And notice how you added that explanation. Because I know it gives me energy. That's natural in conversation. We often explain why we have certain habits. Like, I always carry a water bottle with me because staying hydrated is important.
Exactly. Or, I avoid caffeine after 3 p.m. because otherwise I can't sleep at night. These little explanations make your English sound more fluent and natural.
Now, what about when someone asks if you've changed any habits recently? How would you answer that?
You could say something like, actually, yes, I recently started, or I've been trying to. For example, I've been trying to limit my screen time before bed. I've noticed it helps me sleep better.
That's great. Or you might say, I used to, but now I used to drink soda every day, but now I've switched to sparkling water. It was hard at first, but now I actually prefer it.
Nice. That used to but now structure is really useful for showing change over time. I used to be terrible at saving money, but now I automatically transfer a portion of my paycheck to savings.
Good for you. Financial habits are so important. Okay, let's talk about some idiomatic expressions related to habits.
Ooh, yeah. Like old habits die hard. That means it's difficult to change habits you've had for a long time. I've been trying to stop saying so much when I speak, but old habits die hard.
I noticed. Just kidding. Another one is creature of habit. If someone calls you a creature of habit, it means you like routine and consistency. My dad is such a creature of habit. He eats the same breakfast every single day.
There's also force of habit, which means doing something automatically because you've done it so many times. I almost drove to my old apartment yesterday by force of habit, even though I moved 6 months ago.
Oh no, that happens to everyone. Here's another one, kick the habit. That specifically means to stop a bad habit, especially an addiction. He finally kicked his smoking habit after 20 years.
Good one. And there's fall into bad habits or slip into bad habits. When I'm stressed, I tend to fall into bad eating habits, like ordering takeout every night.
I totally understand that. Stress can really affect our habits. That's why it's good to have what people call healthy coping mechanisms.
Right. Instead of stress eating, you might develop habits like going for a walk or calling a friend. What about talking about habits in the context of advice? Like if someone asks for your advice.
Oh, good point. You could say things like, you should try to, or it might help if. For example, if you want to wake up earlier, you should try to go to bed at the same time every night.
Or, one thing that works for me is, one thing that works for me is laying out my workout clothes the night before. It makes me more likely to actually exercise in the morning.
That's smart. It's all about removing obstacles. You could also say, a good strategy is, or what helps me is. These are all natural ways to give advice.
And if you're talking about breaking bad habits specifically, you might say, instead of, try. Instead of checking your phone first thing in the morning, try doing some stretches or drinking a glass of water first.
Excellent advice. You know, this whole conversation has made me think about my own habits. I'm realizing I have some I want to change.
Same here. That's the thing about talking about habits. It makes you more aware of them. Self-awareness is the first step to change, right?
Absolutely. And that's why it's good to reflect on your habits regularly. Some people keep habit trackers or journals to monitor their progress.
Yeah. You could say, I'm tracking my habits, or I'm keeping track of. I'm keeping track of how much water I drink each day using an app.
Technology can definitely help with habit formation, though it can also create bad habits, like we mentioned with the phone checking.
So true. It's all about balance. Before we wrap up, let's give a few more example sentences that people can practice with. How about you start?
Sure. I make it a habit to read for at least 30 minutes before bed every night. It helps me wind down and relax.
Good one. Here's mine. I'm in the process of breaking my habit of procrastinating. Now I tackle the hardest task first thing in the morning when my energy is highest.
Excellent. One habit I'm proud of is cooking dinner at home most nights instead of eating out. It's healthier and more economical.
Nice. I've noticed that when I don't get enough sleep, I fall back into the habit of drinking too much coffee, which then affects my sleep even more. It's a vicious cycle.
Oh, the irony. I'm trying to be more mindful about my habits. I've started asking myself, is this serving me before I do something automatically?
That's deep. I like it. My best habit is probably staying in touch with friends regularly. I set reminders to call or text people I haven't heard from in a while.
That's so thoughtful. I'm working on developing better time management habits. I've started time blocking my calendar, and it's really helped me be more productive.
Wonderful. Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground today, from the basics of talking about habits to idioms and more advanced expressions.
We really have. And remember, the key is practice. Try using these phrases in your own conversations about habits. The more you use them, the more natural they'll become.
Exactly. And speaking of habits, make it a habit to practice your English every day. Even just a little bit helps.